Transparency in Payments, also known as TIP, is an industry initiative focused on providing airlines with increased transparency and control on the collection of their indirect sales. This video will provide background information on transparency in payments and detail the solution related to transparency in payments. Our industry is rapidly evolving. The current landscape for payment services has dramatically changed over the past years, and new players and solutions are emerging, such as new options enabling agents to remit funds to airlines. The current resolution framework related to credit card rules, in particular Resolution 890, has been established many years ago and needs to evolve to adapt to current regulatory and market conditions. What are the objectives of transparency in payments? IATA has worked with key industry stakeholders, including airlines, agent representatives, and GDSs, as well as industry bodies including PAPGJC and the PSG. The objective of TIP is to introduce a global industry initiative focused on providing airlines and agents with increased transparency and control for each player, an efficient framework and tools to enable agents and airlines to bilaterally agree on usage of alternative transfer methods, such as agent's card or agent's vans, for agency sales. What are the benefits of transparency in payments? TIP will provide airlines with a resolution framework to ensure transparency and control for each individual airline, tools to manage airline consent policy, tools and reports to monitor agents' compliance with each airline's consent policy. It will also provide agents with a resolution framework to provide access to alternative transfer methods based on airline individual consent, tools to manage the enrollment of an agent's own card and consult the airline consent list. What will TIP cover? Today, there are currently two ways for agency sales. The first way, A1, for agency sales on this slide, is a BSP card transaction. A customer uses their card to pay for their airline ticket. The customer's card details are passed through to the airline, who is the so-called merchant of record for this card purchase. The second way, A2, for agency sales, includes two steps. The first step involves a payment from the customer to the agent. This payment from the customer to the agent can be made with the customer card or with other payment methods such as a bank transfer or cash. At this point in time, the agent has received monies from the customer, and these monies are held in trust on behalf of the airline. There is then the second step, namely the agent remittance to the airline. The agent needs to remit these monies to the airline. The agent has currently one option, namely BSP cash. Tomorrow, there will be two additional options for the agent to remit funds to airlines. IATA EasyPay, whereby the agent uses an EasyPay account, or an alternative transfer method, such as an agent's own card or an agent's VAN, virtual account number, with the consent of the airline. The TIP framework is based on four key principles. The first principle is transparency. Providers of alternative transfer methods will need to enlist with IATA and provide relevant information about their products by enrolling their products. Agents and airlines will have access to this information. The second principle is individual airline consent. Each individual airline will have the possibility to review enrolled products and provide its individual consent to accept or not alternative transfer methods. This consent can be done at different levels of granularity, by country, enrolled product, and agent, depending on airlines' commercial and legal policy. The third principle is transaction validation and monitoring. To ensure that the TIP framework works soundly, there will be two steps of validation. First, upfront validation, whereby the airline consent is checked before the ticket is issued. Then, post-ticketing monitoring. This means that all BSP transactions will be monitored by IATA after ticket issuance in order to detect potentially non-compliant transactions and report to each airline. The fourth and last principle is related to infringement and consequences. In case of infringement to their consent policy, airlines will follow up directly with the agents on a bilateral basis. If there is a pattern of abuse, the case will be brought to the Travel Agency Commissioner. How will TIP work? Number 1, providers, that is, issuers of agents' vans, will enroll their products as an alternative transfer method by providing the required product information. Number 2, based on the product information, each airline will need to provide its individual consent or not for each alternative transfer method. Number 3, travel agent will ensure that they have the airline's consent. Number 4, there is a pre-ticketing upfront validation whereby the airline consent is checked before the ticket is issued. And then all reported BSP transactions will be monitored in order to detect potentially non-compliant transactions. Number 5, potentially non-compliant transactions that are detected will be reported to each airline. Number 6, each airline will be responsible for any follow-up with agents on a bilateral basis in case of potential infringement. If there is a pattern of abuse that cannot be resolved on a bilateral basis, an arbitrating party will investigate and decide on appropriate consequences as per the resolution. In conclusion, the Transparency in Payment Initiative will enable each individual airline to clearly define its policy based on transparent product information, and agents will be able to use new transfer methods provided they have received the respective airline's individual consent. TIP's implementation will start in March 2018 with a limited geographical and functional scope and will be completed worldwide by end of 2019.